Think about the last thing you ate. Not whether it was good for you, whether it had flavor, a little salt, a little pepper, some heat or tang, something you added on purpose so it would taste like more than fuel. Now picture the people who came before you, hunched over a fire. What's on that plate? Gray meat, a boiled root, nothing else. Bland. That picture is wrong. And how wrong it is says something strange about what you are. We tell ourselves a simple story about the past. That before spice routes and supermarkets, food was just survival. That flavor is a luxury, a modern thing, something we bolted on once we had the time and the money to spare. Our ancestors, we assume, ate to live. They didn't have the luxury of taste. Every part of that is wrong. And the deeper you dig, the stranger it gets. Start with the most valuable flavor on earth, salt. You've probably heard that Roman soldiers were once paid in it, that it's where the word salary comes from. It's a great story. It's also not quite true. Soldiers were paid in coins, like everyone else. But the story survives for a reason. Salt was so precious that it soaked into the language itself. The old Latin word for a soldier's pay literally carries salt inside it. People have always understood, somewhere deep down, that the difference between food and good food is worth paying for. But here's where it stops being about survival at all. Roughly 2,000 years ago, the Roman Empire ran an entire industry on a sauce made of rotting fish. They called it garum. You took fish, guts and all, layered it with sea salt in stone vats, and left it in the sun to ferment for months. What dripped out was a thin, pungent, intensely savory liquid. That deep, mouth-filling taste we now call umami. And Rome was obsessed with it. By our standards, it should have been revolting. Fermented fish guts, left to break down for months in the heat. But they poured it over almost everything, the way we reach for ketchup or soy sauce. Rich or poor, soldier or senator, everyone wanted that savory hit. Whole neighborhoods of the city of Pompeii were built around garum factories. The vats, the storerooms, the shipping docks. Sealed jars of the stuff turn up in shipwrecks in every corner of the empire. One merchant in Pompeii, a man named Scaurus, got rich enough off fish sauce that he stamped his own jars with advertising, promising his garum was the finest in the world. Sit with that. 2,000 years ago, people were building fortunes, and whole cities, around a flavor. Not a calorie, a flavor. Now, why would anyone do that? Why does taste have this kind of grip on us at all? The answer starts as pure survival. Your sense of taste evolved as a map. Sweet meant sugar, meant energy. Salt meant the minerals your body can't live without. That savory umami taste meant protein. And bitter meant danger. Most natural poisons are bitter, so your tongue learned to flinch from them. Taste was never about pleasure. It was a warning system and a treasure detector, keeping you alive. But somewhere along the way, we did something no other animal has ever done. We broke free of it. We stopped letting the map tell us what to eat, and started chasing the flavors for their own sake, even the ones that were supposed to warn us away. Here's how far back that goes. 6,000 years ago, on the other side of the planet, people across the Americas were already growing and trading a plant whose entire appeal is that it hurts. The chili pepper. In 2007, a scientist named Linda Perry found the microscopic fingerprints of chili, tiny grains of starch, at 7 different ancient sites, spread from the Bahamas all the way down to southern Peru. Maize and chili traveled together, an ancient pair, carried across a whole continent. Read that again. People were cultivating and trading a food that literally burns the mouth, 6,000 years ago, on purpose, because they wanted it. There is no nutritional reason to eat a chili. The burn isn't feeding you. That was never the point. And then there's the cleanest proof of all, the one that actually rewrote the textbooks. In 2013, a team of archaeologists scraped the burnt food crust off the inside of ancient cooking pots from the shores of the Baltic Sea, in what's now Germany and Denmark. The pots were about 6,000 years old, and trapped in that charred residue, they found the microscopic remains of a plant called garlic mustard. Garlic mustard is a weed. It has a sharp, peppery bite and almost nothing else. No real calories, no fat, no protein worth the effort of gathering it. It does exactly one thing. It makes food taste better. And there it was, cooked directly into pots that also held fish and meat. Think about what that means. 6,000 years ago, someone went and gathered a plant that gave their body nothing it needed, purely because it made dinner taste good. For a century, we assumed early people used plants only for fuel, for energy. This one crust of burnt residue proved that wrong. They weren't only eating to live, they were seasoning. So how far back does this really go? Here's where the story gets genuinely strange, and where I have to be honest with you, because the scientists themselves are still arguing about it. 50,000 years ago, before our species had spread across the world, when Neanderthals still walked through the forests of northern Spain, one of them died in a cave called El Cedrón, and when researchers, led by an archaeologist named Karen Hardy, analyzed the hardened plaque on his teeth, they found something they didn't expect. Chemical traces of yarrow and chamomile. Two bitter plants. Bitter and barely nutritious. And we know he could taste that bitterness. Because Neanderthals carried the same gene you do. The one that makes bitter things taste bitter on your tongue. So why would he put them in his mouth on purpose? And here's the honest complication. Nobody is certain he did. Some scientists think it was medicine. Because that same Neanderthal was dosing an aching tooth with poplar bark, which happens to contain the active ingredient in aspirin. Others point out the bitter plants might have been swallowed by accident, already inside the stomach of an animal he'd eaten. And some think it was exactly what it looks like, flavor. 50,000 years of ambiguity, sealed in the plaque of one aching tooth. We may never know which it was. But even the possibility tells you how deep this thing runs in us. Because here is the thing all of this has been circling. The one thing that truly separates you from every other living creature on the planet. You are the only animal on Earth that deliberately eats things that hurt you, for pleasure. Go back to the chili. That burn is not a flavor. It's an alarm. Capsaicin, the chemical that makes chili hot, sets off the exact same nerves that fire when your mouth touches something scalding. Your body is screaming, danger, stop, spit it out. And every other mammal listens. Hand a chili to a mouse, a squirrel, any animal that shares your pain receptors, and it refuses. It knows better. You don't. A psychologist named Paul Rosen gave this a name. Benign masochism. You take a signal that means pain, and you learn, slowly, deliberately, one burning bite at a time, to feel it as pleasure. The same way you learn to love a roller coaster, or a horror film. You teach yourself to enjoy the alarm. And it isn't just chili. It's the bitter jolt of black coffee, the sourness of a lemon, the rot in a blue cheese. All of them, things your biology was built to reject. And you trained yourself, on purpose, to crave. No other creature does this. Not one. So picture that first meal again. The gray meat, the boiled root, and now cross it out. Because the truth is, from the moment we had fire and a pot to cook in, maybe long before, humans were reaching for tastes that gave them nothing at all. A weed for its bite, a fruit that burns, a rotting fish for its savor. Seasoning was never a luxury we invented once we got comfortable. It's one of the oldest things about you. You are the only animal that eats for the experience, and not just the fuel. The only one that will chase a flavor straight past the point of pain. So the next time you reach for the salt, or the hot sauce, or the spice you don't actually need, notice it. That small, pointless, human reach for more. It's the same reach as a hand crushing a bitter weed into a pot, 6,000 years ago. You were never built only to survive. You were built to want the world to taste like something.